A good day to you. This would be my happy hour talk. It would be 64th in the series. I am Dr. Lalit Mendis, and if you want any of my former clips on COVID science, science and reason, digital science or happy hour, you just send a WhatsApp number to +94 49 59 21 +94 77 49 59 214 +94 77 49 59 214. So today my talk is going to be on the two tracks that works in man. The one we began with, which I call the complementation, for which we were designed, and other one, the competition that enters. Now you may know, you may have heard, when there are twins inside a mother's womb, one fellow becomes dominant and he pops out first. And the next one may lifelong have an issue of struggling for existence. Even in one mother's womb, what played out. So that's just by the way that I mentioned this complementation track and the competitive track. And today I want to also dwell on sex and libido. A friend asked me to do a clip on this also, so I will do some measure of talking on sex and libido. How does it work? What is its purpose? How does it work? So I have told you before, we were designed, born in our mother's womb, and God's scope, God's design came. That's how I think that we can all thrive. So little fellow in the mother's womb gets altruism firsthand. The womb is the best place for a baby to grow, there's no doubt about it, and he feels he is treated royally. He came from a nice place into the mother's womb and he expects the best, and hopefully he gets the best. And we know that if he does not get the best from the mother's womb, it's going to have telling effects on him. And in our series of my research work on ADHD and the digital screen, more mothers are on the digital screen, more likely the child will grow attention deficit. So attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, is very simple to understand. If the child doesn't get attention, he doesn't grasp attention. I'll repeat it. If the child doesn't get attention from mom, he doesn't grasp attention. So even when we were in the medical faculty, we knew a thing called maternal deprivation syndrome. What the mother feels as deprivation, child feels, and his physical growth is affected. Now we know that his brain growth is affected, and there is another growth besides the brain where he feels loved and bonded, that gets affected, so the child is born with ADHD. More a mother is on the screen, it has an effect on the child's brain, mediated via PGE2, prostaglandin E2, is the most important prostaglandin that works on the fetal brain. So that's a little technical thing. So I'm on this topic that we are there in our mother's womb, designed on the track that all can thrive. Then somewhere down the line we get into a track that survival of the fittest, only fittest can survive. Similarly, we are made with a spirit that generates love, but somewhere down the line we find another spirit comes in, spirit that generates fear. So in the issue of sex and libido also, the two play a part. One whose spirit generating love, all can thrive, approaches the topic of sex and libido, it is more blessed to give than receive. Now I am committed to morality that says, ethics that say, you can do sex only in a marital union which is meant to be lifelong. That rupture will disturb you more than any other rupture. So research has found out that a parental divorce affects the child more than a parental death. Yes, that's research. Anyway, I am committed to this ethic, this morality, that marriage is meant to be lifelong. So when I say sex and libido, I address the issue of how marriage works and how sex and libido ought to be working in marriage. What are the neurochemical transmitters involved in it? What are the hormones involved in it? What are the brain tracts involved in all this? So that's going to be a recurring theme in my talk while I tackle other things. So please remember that I'm working with this spirit that generates love and spirit that generates fear. And fear will soon be followed by humiliation, fear, hurt, humiliation, then put down, I'm not getting the best I ought to be getting, demand mode, then grab mode, then hatred somewhere down the line. And some people are hateful and aggressive to the injustice that happened to them. Other people go into hiding and withdrawn mode. They nurture the grief, nurture the hurt, but they are in a defensive mode in hiding. So these are the 5 H's: hurt, humiliation, horror, hate, hiding. I call it 5H syndrome. How do those things work into sex, love and marriage? Again, I have to qualify. For me, sexual activity means in a lifelong faithfulness relationship. So if I may ask you to check out now itself, can you remember the first incident before the age of 5 when the spirit that generates love was overcome by the spirit that generates fear? Can you remember a day like that? That you automatically switch to, this is not a world all can thrive, this seems to be a world the fittest survive. This competition goes on. Now later on, ideologically, we may read Karl Marx, or even without reading Karl Marx, without reading Charles Darwin, you may absorb from your peers and the cultural credo from in God we trust, we move to in ourselves we trust. What a tremendous, what a tragic change that would be. So many people think God is a demagogue, that God is a dictator. How is it when man has totalitarian rule? God as totalitarian versus man as totalitarian. Whom do you think has done better? We need to think, isn't it? Yeah. So we are on these 2 tracks, complementation. My thesis is we are made for complementation. But competition becomes very intense, and that is fear-based. Then I want to introduce another word. We are made for favor, expectation of hope, expectation of good happening. That's how we got designed. But somewhere down the line, we did a 180-degree turn and we have an expectation of fear. So let's do it like this. Here we were with the expectation of favor, hope, anticipation of good, in a world where all can thrive. That's how we were. Then whatever it is, we did this turn. I'm not saying it's such a quick turn. For some it could be. For a lady who gets raped, or a man, or when a great injustice happens, you can turn so swiftly, but otherwise the turning may be more slow. Now you have an expectation of fear, you are not thinking of favor. So I introduced another concept to you when you are looking forward to your child's future or your future, your health or your finances. What is it, expectation of favor or is it fear? Fear expects the worst and favor expects the best. So when fear expects the worst, we go on an adrenergic, noradrenergic, cortisol drive, which is called stress. Those are the stress hormones. But there are things called neurochemical transmitters that people don't know. So before I get to that, let me first explain the favor-based, good result, good reward-based track, which I call complementation, operates from the prefrontal cortex, dorsolateral aspect. It is the executive empathic, good for me, good for others pathway, and then in it there is initiation, navigation, good conclusion, successful conclusion, and reward. That operates in an hour, 1 hour period, 60 minutes for the adult. Under the age of 12, the cycle is much less. But an adult is able to hold the default mode network for 1 hour. For 40 minutes for salience, get to the point, then dopamine nicely comes down or should come down, that is physiological. Then serotonin works to check out what I did, check back what I did, and it gives satiety. Satiety is how do I improve it? So always we have this favorable outlook to life. Begin with favor, conclude it with favor, having looked back through serotonin, which is a neurochemical transmitter. And we look back and say, I can improve it. Next time I can do better. This is not only for work, a student studying also. At the end of 40 to 45 minutes, he relaxes, he checks back like this and thinks through what he studied. Then serotonin is working to transfer random access memory study, RAM study, just like the computer, big brain, into more deep-seated memory. Within the 12-hour period, it works through. So till sleep comes, hopefully you keep this thing without shifting to the fear mode. Moment fear mode, fear competition, survival of the fittest mode happens, your memory will be random and you will not form any concluded thoughts. You will just operate on the utilitarian thing of survival of the fittest, and that's how you'll be operating. You did not gather anything that is worth taking forward. So through the day, watch the time that you are probably doing a non-favorable thing. From favor, you move to fear. From thriving for all, you move to the survival of the fittest. From a spirit-generating love, you move to the spirit-generating fear. Now, obviously, sex, libido, love and marriage has an effect coming from that. So, man did this thing about the prefrontal cortex, executive empathic, top-down regulation. I have done this before many times, but for every talk, new people may be listening, and also because it's basic. When we are not operating in the top-down regulation, under thrill, peril, stress, fright, flight, fight mode, we move to the survival of the fittest, which is the bottom-up regulation that begins to come up, bottom-up regulation, and that is going through amygdala, hypothalamus and hippocampus. Now, if you ask me why is there such a track, God being a wise designer, He kept a track like that to face danger or peril. I have told you this before. I call it the foxhole situations of life. We all may face it. Very simply, you might start slipping on a superb Kartakulambam mango skin or a banana skin. As you start slipping, you get adjusted very quickly. You hear a bomb, you hear an explosion, whatever it is. So that survival track is important to function just through an accident or something. Even a soldier can function in that mode not for more than 6 hours, 8 hours max. They have to be relieved out of it. When they are not relieved, they have post-traumatic stress disorder and other problems. Then kids on the screen for more than into that length of time, they all the time function on the bottom-up regulation. They are responding to stimuli from outside. They are not thinking and doing. They are not thinking and doing. They are doing and feeling. So they have had a major shift into survival of the fittest. So I have 5 laws on the screen. I have told this again and again. I'll tell it again. Never more than 25 minutes on the screen. Never. Especially when the screen is pixel screen and not a LCD screen. whatever that LED screen, smartphone, iPad, tab, home television, I often say, please don't get a 4K screen into your home, don't get a 8K screen into your home. Depending on the concentration of blue light that comes out of your home, your memory will be disturbed, your sleep will be disturbed, you'll be shifting from executive empathic top-down regulation to bottom-up regulation, which is dyspathic, reflexive, come for a fight, belligerent, ready for a jam, And all the present-day music will rev up the bottom-up regulation. So if your kid or you are into keeping earphones always on with music, you are forgetting your language, you are forgetting thinking and management, you are activating your temporal lobe, and you are always being pushed from the last hour and pulled from fantasia that you have seen on the screen or heard in the music. So all music which is more sound than words will dumb you down, dumb your child down. You have to tell him that. I'll repeat it. All music which is more music sound than hearing words will dumb down the learning process, will affect sleep, will affect appetite and all that. To get all this into your head, you'll have to get some of my books. This is Parenting in Heart and Brain. We have it at Brookside Bookshop, 374 Leslie Ranagala Mavatta Borella, just near the Oval, easy to get there, or at Sarasavia or at Vijitayappa. If you you can pay by post also, but there is tedious. This mom and then this is a major thesis, Mission Possible, Momcraft and Deadcraft in an Age of Pixel Invasion. That's the name of this book, Mission Possible. This is more for thinking parents. You may say all parents should think, I also think so, particularly when the major most hazard is the digital screen. May not be global warming. Major most hazard every home faces is the digital screen. This may be necessary thinking. All these books are also available in our book cupboard in my school, my alma mater, St. Thomas's College. Yes, you can get it from there also. There are many more books, and if you just send me your postal address, some things I can send you free, to 374 Leslie Ranagala Mavatta, which is the old Serpentine Road, Colombo 8. If you send it to our Empathic Learning Center, I can send some of these graphics, which are original graphics in my research. I can send them free. What is just pamphlets? Quite a lot of pamphlets can be sent free, but the books you'll have to buy. So I get back on track. What is the track? Complementation or competition vis-a-vis sex libido, love and marriage. Today's topic is that. So then in the complementation mode, we have forgiving or vengeance. So in the complementation mode, you quickly learn that forgiving gets through better. Now recent study is out. It's published in the Annals of Internal Medicine that says those who are sarcastic are actually being hostile. And that adds to mortality rate, increase of mortality after a heart attack. We didn't know that. There's a recent study. Now we know that anger and certain kinds of behavior promote increased mortality from heart attack. But this is just sarcasm. All the time being sarcastic, all the time cynical, seeing other side people. They always see the other side of things. They're in the company, but they are fifth columnist. You may have a child like that, which is a big problem. Child, parents, but he is on a belligerent mood. He's all the time attacking dad, and mom has to come in as savior, So I'm coaching dad how to get more involved with the son in the thing where he becomes hero. So when the digital screen has affected a boy, he's on a belligerent mode and he wants to eliminate the threat. Who is the threat? Dad. So he's So it's weird. Same with sci-fi reading, monster, spook, alien reading. Even reading affects them, quite apart from the screenplay. So be mindful of all this. I'm on the topic of forgiving mode and forbearing, or the vengeance mode. So we are living in a time, nobody is patient on the road, even any mistake is, you get the idea. While driving or in lifestyle, forgiving and vengeance. I want to get onto the dopamine serotonin story. So we want to do it with dopamine, and dopamine comes down, then serotonin takes over and looks back. I have to do something little on sleep now, so you understand the sex, libido, love and marriage angle. At sleeping time, now this is the best sleeping time. After 6 p.m., minimize the smart screen. More pixels you consume after 6 p.m., less normal sleep you get, less healthy sleep you get. So my advice is, choose the programs you will watch after 6 p.m. If it's a LED screen. If there's some other screen which is not LED, thing will be less injurious. Now there are LED screens that say it is dark mode. When the market creates a problem and market offers a solution, until non-market funded research proves the case, dark mode of the reduces digital effect. It is said so, but it is better to be safe than sorry. Prevention is better than cure. So you really have to watch how much of pixel consumption, you understand what I mean by pixel consumption, how much of TV watching you will do. So as for me, what I do is, I will, maybe if I want to listen to some news, I just put the laptop on and I only listen, I don't watch it. I'm a verbal processing guy. I best absorb by reading, and I can absorb quite a bit by hearing. The visual thing really disturbs my concentration. I'm made like that, and in fact, originally 70% were designed like that, verbal processing, 30% were pictorial processing. They were the graphic designers, the dreamy child, and so on. Digital screen has increased the percentage of children who are poor on verbal processing, and in America they have given up cursives. You remember Royal Crown textbooks, and we did cursives, flowing hand. Flowing hand makes brain brilliant. Keep writing, flowing hand, 4 A4 pages in 2 languages, you will not get Alzheimer's. I'll repeat it, 4 A4 pages every day in 2 languages. Use your English and Sinhala or Tamil, and you will not get Alzheimer's. That's it. So more handwriting is involved, better the memory. So now the advice is, children who are on studying from Zoom or digital screen, somehow get them to handwrite at least half the amount of notes. They'll do better at exam. Recall is better, recollection is better, collation is better, connection is better, application is better. All that is better in the learning process when you have done handwriting and you are still using the printed page for reading or writing. Besides that, when you are older, you will not get Alzheimer's. When you keep your handwriting 4 A4 pages in 2 languages, and also when you keep your every hour plan and do. So don't be a sitting couch potato, being on the screen, you don't know what you will do any hour, you only keep surfing the screen. Don't get into that vegetable existence, but it's connected to Alzheimer's. Every hour, plan and do. So the TV program you want to watch also, plan and do it. Yes. And as I told you, after 6 p.m., protect your sleep. At 6 p.m., melatonin begins to secrete. And it is best you sleep at the first suggestion of drowsiness. Don't take coffee or tea or anything else. First suggestion of drowsiness, take the first nod as sleep. Now, it's physiologically good in the afternoon to put your legs up on a chair and a cushion, even on your bed, completely horizontal. You bring your heart stress down, cardiac tone down, adrenergic cortisol axis down. You can have a second morning. If you do a real 20 minutes, that health nap, seated on a chair, even in office, even 15 minutes is okay. But a real second morning you can get all those basic neurochemical stuff to good morning level. And that reduces the tension on your heart. It is proven to reduce heart attacks and the severity of the heart attack. So that's by the way. Which means if sleep is coming to you at 10:30, hit the sack. Don't delay sleep because a television program is going, you're sipping coffee or worse still alcohol or whatever. Obey the sleep command that comes from God almost, So, in my talks, I work with that dimension. Almost that sleep command is to be obeyed. Then you get your night sleep. At the time of the sleep, that sense of rest, that sense of rest. GABA is working, gamma amino butyric acid. GABA is the empathy neurochemical transmitter. Oxytocin, it was long thought as the romance one. Now research is saying, yes, romance, but oxytocin is love hormone. But it is mostly being able to communicate with each other in the context of loving and being romantic. So if you thought that you can have oxytocin dose and do love better, you may be wrong on that. Newest research is saying that. We'll dwell on it more. At the moment, I'm looking at melatonin and the function of melatonin in sleep, leading you to good physiological sleep. Under the care of melatonin, the glymphatic system works. Now you need to buy some of our books to remember all this stuff, but these talks are free. So under the influence of melatonin, glymphatic system, glial system of the brain works, and all over the brain, that system works and removes all the additional neurochemical transmitters that have been working through the day, and also it has a repairing function on the neurochemical, the neurons themselves, glymphatic system, and you wake up in the morning feeling very refreshed, ready for the day. So if you are grouchy in the morning, a child or you, probably you were sleep disturbed. And you will be sleep disturbed if by 9 p.m. you are consuming a lot of pixels. You will be sleep disturbed. So watch that. So obey that first command to sleep, and during sleep time, REM sleep, non-REM sleep. During REM sleep you have dreams. Dreams are unpleasant, but as you go on, you end up with pleasant dreams, and then when you wake up, you should be either in a pleasant dream or no dream. That's how you should wake up. If you wake up in a violent dream, that means you are sleep disturbed. So the amount of LED lights in your roof, in your bedroom, in your washroom, all that will affect you. So please, at least in your washroom when you get up in the night, don't put a LED light. Warm CFL is the most brain-friendly light. Okay. Now I'm still on melatonin. So at 6 p.m. melatonin begins to work. It works through the night and gets your brain into good order. So those who get sleep disturbed with night shifts or nighttime irregular sexual activity here, there and everywhere, clubbing and whatnot, their melatonin is depressed. Strangely, they have cancers coming up where chromaffin cells are. That is in the breast, in the testis, in the womb, even in the retina. So this is a sad thing. So which means morality, good sleep, a regular stable relationship is what we are designed for. Even medicine says that. So that's melatonin. Okay, melatonin watches over your chromaffin cells wherever they are. And if melatonin gets disturbed, those chromaffin cells can produce cancer. That's it. Then at the time you are sleeping, you get this mea culpa thing, that is, what went wrong, you want to tell your life partner, or what went wrong, son wants to tell dad. So at 9 p.m., dad, I have told this often, 7 p.m. is happy harvest hour. Why happy hour? You are home. Why harvest hour? You use the next 2 hours, 7 p.m., 9 p.m., as the best career investment of your life, your children's future. I am very passionate about it. It is scientific. Please, dad and mom, take 7 to 9 p.m. to invest for future. That's why I call it happy harvest hour. You understand the word harvest? Time invested will produce brilliance in your children and your good relationship with your children even after they are married. So you say, I can't give 2 hours. I'm so busy earning for the corporate. Firstly, you are very foolish. Secondly, please give 1 hour. Forgive me my very patriarchal language. Please give 1 hour. Please give 1 hour. Give 8 to 9 then. So at that time, no smartphone, no office work, that WhatsApp can wait, email can work, but best is 2 hours. If 2 hours daily you give for your best career investment, your children, and your marriage, of course, forgive me, your marriage, of course, what a great thing it would be. So at 9 p.m., as you are getting that sleepy feeling, the GABA begins to work. Then that's the time. There is also a time for sex, libido, love and marriage. So you have to plan it. Men think sex all the time, even when they are 90 years old. Ladies at the age of 45, when menstruation is coming, they think less of menstruation is stopping, coming, they think less of it. Now listen to this. I want to first do GABA. So GABA is a feeling, gamma aminobutyric acid, is a feeling that that you have for the other, and it's also a feeling of giving your best to another. GABA has empathy, so when you drink alcohol, you suppress GABA. Every molecule of C2H5OH blocks a molecule of. You have no assessment of yourself. You are insisting that you can sing when you can't sing. You can dance when you're only trampling toes. That's how it goes. So every bit of alcohol is reducing GABA, and that will affect your marital relationship and love relationship also. Now, that is GABA. And as for kids, when they are falling asleep and dad and mom are there, so never agree to children closing their door on you. They my territory, I shut my door, don't come to my room, please don't agree to that. And for that you have to work with them before they are 12 years old. Even after that, try to get into their life by pleading. Mistake management is especially dad's time for a son's life or a daughter's life. I have done this again and again. But today we are on GABA. So when the child is falling asleep, GABA is working. Mom and dad should be there for him to say, Dad, this went wrong. Whatever went wrong, they want to say it at that time. That is GABA. Our retina is amazingly designed. That's why I think God had done it. We have intrinsic photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, RPGs, retinal ganglion cells, intrinsic photosensitive, IPRG. What do? When light is going off, they begin to signal to the brain to produce GABA. So GABA gets us ready to begin with into being considerate towards each other and doing the best for each other. So when you drink alcohol, you lose that. So alcohol at any time is no good thing, and in the evening time you lose your GABA component here. Then there's a peculiar thing now being highlighted, new research. In every male in the brain, testosterone is converted to estrogen. Now listen to me. Testosterone is converted to estrogen in the male, in the brain, which means you are in the act of sex, that giving nature and receiving rather than grabbing. Two ways: giving nature and receiving rather than grabbing, and the enjoyment of the other. This is libido. Not you doing it and you grabbing it. That is dopamine. Dopamine must do and serotonin must take over appreciation for executive empathic functions. But this is another function. So GABA primes you for the action of estrogen in the male brain. This is only recently known. So if you disturb that act where testosterone is converted to estrogen in the brain, and in some people estrogen receptors are low in the brain, or the gene is less expressed, then they're only thinking of the testosterone. You got it? Testosterone alone is not libido. Libido is a healthy sexual appetite. So what is a healthy sexual appetite? You get ready, get your partner to be ready, and then you are in a receiving mode and a giving mode. You know that receiving is not grabbing. Receiving is not grabbing. So sex and libido, love and marriage. So I told you at the beginning, in my ethics, sex and libido should be exercised only in the stable marital relationship, not outside. And not premarital. I can't go into all the details. Not extramarital, that has consequences. So we are sticking to sex and libido, love and marriage in marital life. So the estrogen component in the male brain is very important for this. Whatever you do, especially the dopaminergic drive, comes up with pornography. The thrill of it, the secrecy of it, the horakama of it, you're dopamine driven. That completely damages GABA, and the conversion of testosterone to estrogen is inhibited in the presence of dopamine. We also do further research to see whether statins block this action here, whether statins are contributing to the diminution of libido here. My research on statin is a different subject. Please go to Dr. Lalit Mendy's blog at wordpress.com and have a look at it. And some of you know that I was founding head of Department of Pharmacology in a state medical faculty. So a lot of research, some of my research have been on that line. But this kind of research that I put into Happy Hour has come from my digital screen study. Yes. So we have got through to melatonin, we have got through with GABA, we have got through with the dopamine serotonin balance, and we are now getting through with when testosterone becomes estrogen in the male brain. Necessary thing, how it promotes sex, libido, love and marriage, receiving and giving. That's what libido is. That's the enjoyment. Then we come to oxytocin. Now, oxytocin is known as the love hormone. Now, recent research suggests that, of course, we know that mother and child bonding is through oxytocin. Now, most recent research is this, that oxytocin helps you to communicate with each other and respond to another person's conflict lovingly. So now long it has been thought that oxytocin is the romance hormone or the love hormone. In actual fact, what oxytocin does is helps two people in intimacy to resolve their differences. Got it? So that you listen to the other's difference, the difficulty or the disability with more empathy. Therefore, you relate with each other better. So there's a great question now that initial stage of romance, oxytocin is high, and after 1.5 years, oxytocin goes down. So what do you do? Some researchers have thought and in some research was done where oxytocin was given as a nasal instillation. Yeah, the way some of these anti-allergy drugs are given. And they did research, and what they found out was, as I told you, that in intimate conversations, level of oxytocin determines how empathic you will be to speak through, communicate through a difficult, disagreeable situation. So oxytocin low people will damage their marital relationship and try to get into stress. So oxytocin low meaning either the production is low, or the receptors in the brain is low, or there's a specific gene they have identified. The gene that controls that production could be low. Same goes for testosterone becoming estrogen. Now, having told all that, let's get back to real stuff also. Man is not only brain and juice. Man has a spirit. In this spirit, there is this heart. Spirit is completely God-oriented. Heart is both-oriented. It's oriented towards man and God. So in this heart of ours, we recognize a shape that is designed. Who will be my match? This is not to be lightly treated. If young fellows get into curves and physical sex fast, before they choose their life partner, they lose the shape. It's a hopeless thing. That shape of whom we marry, the likeness, the similitude, our other half, you might say our better half, we recognize. Now that has almost a God thing in it, whether you believe God or not. If you may permit me to use that language, almost a God match. So this idea, good marriages are matched in heaven, or heaven's matchmaker kind of thing, we have to train our next generation. Please, darling, watch for the shape. Please tell your daughter, please tell your son, watch for the shape that you feel is your fit. Get them to, it's recognizable. It's recognizable. You can put down even what I like, your empathy tones, you can put down and mark it off even. Get them to do that, not to get into very close physical links, vulnerable, damaging situations. Don't allow them to get to that. The fit. So there is the spirit, there is the heart, then there is our seat of emotion. That is the spectacles we are wearing about what has happened. That's what emotion is. Emotions are not instantaneous. Emotions are behavioral symptoms. They come from somewhere. I repeat, spirit, heart, emotions. I did it on purpose on one side. Then there is also conscience. So there's a reciprocal relation between emotion and conscience. How your conscience have been cultivated will give you dyspathy, happiness, empathy, desire, and you'll interpret it as a good emotion or a bad emotion. So anyway, there is also emotion. It is after all this you get to cognition, decisions, will, and then the neurons and the neurochemical transmitters are working in measurable ways, and also in some ways which can be affected or influenced. Did you understand that? So when people ask me about sex, libido, love and marriage, why is it that oxytocin levels may be high on a new romance and low as time goes on? Issue is that oxytocin helps to communicate. Now, if you are already waning off, oxytocin is also waning off. Problem is not oxytocin. Problem arose below, much more foundational level. The fit you made is getting torn apart at a much more fundamental level. Oxytocin can't solve the problem. Similarly with many other things. Sleep, if you get sleep disturbed with an unsound mind, no drug can put that right. No drug gives normal sleep. Even Panadol, now it is said, paracetamol, if you have to deal with a child in a sensitive talk, don't do it after taking paracetamol. Paracetamol dumps down empathy, new research, and paracetamol minimizes your perception of risk. So if you take paracetamol and because of a pain in the or other, you are more likely to injure yourself. Paracetamol is the safest drug we knew for analgesia, but new research says if you take paracetamol and sit on a sensitive talk as boss, as parent, as spouse, or in any other relationship, you are likely to talk not in empathy but in dyspathy. So try to avoid taking paracetamol when you have a sensitive talk. Similarly, paracetamol is seemingly dumps down our assessment of risk, and we may move into risky things when we have taken a dose of Panadol for whatever pain. So this is a bit of, I don't know whether I satisfied the request of my friend to talk on sex, libido, love and marriage, and also the relationship of oxytocin in this equation. Few more things, and give me 5 minutes and I'll be done. We want to be in the favor mode rather than the offense mode. So in marriage or in other situations, when you get to the offense mode, you're in the mode of defending yourself. Favor mode, you want to work for others. So I told you at the beginning, it's best that we are in the complementation mode rather than in the competition mode. So when your kid gets into that competition mode of resisting, some mistake has happened, he's defending some injury that you might even not know. You understand, some of you have played rugby, some of you have played cricket. When we injure, we guard that place with a knee guard. Automatically we guard that place when something is injured, finger injured. Similarly, when children are talking rude, they are guarding something and they are hiding things. This comes from the Garden of Eden. When they felt hurt, what did they say? They said, I'm afraid, I'm naked, I'll get more hurt, I'm exposed, I'm worthless, and I'm hiding. So that is the defended position. They are defending something and they'll be aggressive. When they're defending something, they are aggressive. You know that. So we want to keep ourselves in the favored mode when we are likely to share our privilege with others, rather than in the offended mode when at the best we are defensive, at the worst we are aggressive to get it from the other person because I have been dealt unjustly, I must get it from the other. And so you know Marxism really works. Marxism works with injured people. Those who felt society treated them bad, father treated them bad, boss treated them bad, work treated them bad, system treated them bad, they become easy recruits for Marxism. So you understand our university system and its problems. Easy recruits for Marxism because of this cry, I have been treated bad and everybody must put it right, not me. I go on the roads wasting water, police have to bathe me for me to get my senses. So they are in a protest, rage, rebellion mode because everybody is responsible for my poverty. Marxism recruits many candidates quite easily. Yes. So we are into a receive and give mode, not in a get and grab mode. We are not orphans, we have enough to share, we are not Oliver Twist, you know. I shouldn't use that language. This, of course, Charles Dickens' story from the 19th century. Forget about it. Often he feels there's not enough to share. We want to be in a world where it is enough to share. Then we are into reconciliation. We try to solve the problem. That is the complementation mode. Alienation is we take a stance that you are on the other side, I am on this side. Those fellows are always outcasts, or they are the problem. That is alienation. You know, in Sri Lankan politics, racially, how easily this happens. They are the problem. Then we believe in commendation. We want to commend our children, and we have a commended view of life. I can do the best I am fitted to do. Or we can be in a condemned mode of life, where our son and daughter also only hear, you are not getting anything right. You are not getting anything right. So we don't want to go there, isn't it? So we want to own errors, not disown errors. So this is where mistake management comes. We want to own the error of whoever it is we are trying to correct, put it right for that person. We want to own it and invest in that person. We don't want to disown that person when he has done bad. This is where Dad's main role comes. And I try to bring this principle, the principle of the cross, that a great good shepherd owned all our misgivings, owned all our errors, which look like nails, thorns, whiplashes, tongue lashes, unjust court, kangaroo court, false evidence, all those things that have gets into a toss like that, or daughter for that matter, Dad has to step in. I've said this before, within the boundary, mom makes it safe and good. But when the boundary is stretched, cracked, doubted, contested, Dad has to come in. So initially itself, it is the dad who should give the next step, next stretch, readjust the boundary and tell the son and daughter, you can do more. So dad gives confidence, mother gives intimacy. Intimacy is an inside thing, confidence and competence is an outside thing. So if dad is not at home, they feel they can't conquer the world. World is pressing them. Whereas our mandate is, you are blessed to be fruitful, multiply, fill and fulfill, and steward it for others. That's our mandate. But dad has to work it out. Mom makes it internally safe, and their intimacy, their knowing their inside, mom is very needed. Knowing their outside, capacity, capability, competence, confidence, dad is needed. So first 3 years, mom is needed more. Not that dad is not needed. In the first 3 years, if mom is not there, it's very, very difficult. So that's why we have always said our moms should not be sent for real and other stuff abroad. It's a sad thing when mom is not there. Irreparable loss. So first 3 years, mom's intimacy, and next comes dad's confidence building ability. So when that is fractured, it is dad who has to sit with the son and absorb the errors that has happened. That is the principle of the cross. Someone else, someone who was all good, took it for us. And in that moment, dad has to become that figure. And you take the cost of it, the pain of it, the injury of it yourself. And it may take half an hour, it may take 1 hour or more, and you'll have to revisit the scene. Remember, always with injury, just like physical injury, revisit the scene. Dad, you need intimacy for this. That's why we have estrogen. Why do men need estrogen? For the motherly functions that man is supposed to do also. So this is not only a case of sex, libido, love and marriage. Even in life, when intimacy is needed, of wanting to put it right, but mother can't. When the boundary has been attacked, breached, challenged, confidence, competence, remaking, dad will bring it. I think I have spoken enough. A few more things. We want to work with the reward. Don't let your child or yourself shift to anti-reward. Then you are recruiting opioids and other things that are not good at all, and you get an attitude of whatever I do, I don't care. You want to challenge me, pain is my friend kind of way. I don't care. However hurt, I don't care. Don't allow anyone to go there. Then suicide is only the next step. Yeah. We don't want that to happen to anyone we know. So that's about it. Thank you for listening. Sometime again when facts drop enough or someone asks me an issue, I will try to respond.